neither. I am actually now a full cone girl. I guess what could be papers in a sense. So I like to make sure my rolling process is succinct and quick. So I will pack my cone really quickly, or even better, my one hitters are super dope. If you don't know what a one hitter is, it's like a cute little pipe. And what I love is like cannabis for women. So I get into like, we like it a little girly. The guys like the Fonto and the papers and all of that. With me, so I keep it real cute, either a one hitter, a cone, or somebody would roll it for me. Definitely sativa. Definitely sativa. And I think a lot of people confuse sativa to be the one that kind of relaxes you and keeps you down, and confuse indica to be the one that is supposed to like give you upbeat when it's switched. So I prefer a sativa because I like to kind of get also that energy boost, but again, still being a relaxed feeling, still feeling a vibe. Anytime I'm doing work, I can go a full work day off of sativa. A full work day. And then a hybrid too, when I'm kind of like the light work day. So definitely sativas all the way. That sativa get you right, and it lock you in. Unlike coffee, like coffee, you get locked in and then you kind of crash. But that sativa, it lock you in, and then you feel good about your work after that high. You be like, oh, okay, look at me. That's all you need. Well, it was definitely under 21. Probably around high school. I think like most people, when you just get into high school, that's when you start, oh, what you got. So maybe 16, 17, like right towards like my senior year after prom, we all got together and was like, oh yeah, somebody got some weed on them. And yeah, that was the first time.
Did you get high first time?
High as, can I curse? Yes. I remember the first time I smoked. Like I think like most people, you start to realize what's happening. And then when you're around people, you're trying to like not freak out, but freak out and see who around you and stuff. And then when you start to, when you start smoking more often, you get the vibes. You know what's up. Yes. I'm like a microdoser. So I usually like to take cannabis in small increments, like 5, 10, 20 milligrams at a time. So I'm, high productivity, but just relaxed, like shoulders down. So when I'm doing that, I literally like set the stage for like almost like a fort in my house. Like I'll build a fort, I'll get some TV ready, I have some food ready, I'll have some music ready or something, and then I can like really think and vibe and clear and see what it is that I have going on. So that's like my little sanctuary. Delivery, for sure. I'm a girl that really appreciates convenience. Like most things, not just in cannabis. Like I like my food delivered to me. I would like my groceries delivered to me. Listen, if I can get pretty much everything that I ever acquired delivered to me, I would. Just for that level of convenience. So when it comes to my CBD products, my medical recreational products, definitely prefer delivery because, it meets you at home. Man, so many. When I first got into the industry, it was hard to even really pick, who do you really want to engage with and follow. And then once I found some people who were doing dope things, such as like Honeysuckle Magazine, MJ Biz Daily, which is really just informational, Ganjapreneur, NJ Cannabis Insider here in Jersey, that's always putting us up on game on what's going on in the cannabis industry. And then when you talk about influencers in the space, people like, of course, Leo Bridgewater, Tahir Johnson, one of my advisors, Hope Wiseman, people who've actually been in this space longer than I have and done things. I just sort of like really started to, watch how they moved. I always say, what is it? When you mimic someone, it's the best form of flattery. So those were some of my top 2 go people and some of the top outlets I would go to kind of just get myself immersed in the industry. I really do think that the legal cannabis industry can now start to help our young people get away from the old stigma around cannabis and marijuana and a lot of the harsh things we learned from the war on drugs. We really want our youth to, prior to becoming 21, understand that cannabis in a sense is medicine. People use this for chronic pain, people use this for cancer, people use this for anxiety. It's being tested right now, and so much data and research is coming from the cannabis plant, which has been used for thousands of years, for medicinal health. So I would definitely want the youth and more programs to be focused, if there's going to be touched on with people under 21, to focus specifically on the science, specifically on what the plant does and how it's healing people and the different forms of the plant. What is the endocannabinoid system? What are terpenes? What are the different sort of items you find from that plant, and let that be what they're learning, so that coming into 21 and older, they can now take that information and now be smart consumers, smart business people around the plant, because now cannabis and marijuana isn't something that's supposed to land you in jail. I think we still have some ways, specifically because cannabis is still federally illegal. I think once we start to beat that drum a little bit and make cannabis, destigmatize it on a federal level, I think then we can look into education for those who are 21 and younger as to what that can be. I was actually inquiring about that not too long ago, about how do we start to get those people who are between 18 and 20 prepared if they wanted to come into this industry, if they wanted to consume, but to do it smartly. And it starts by reaching out to them. But most cannabis companies can't really walk around and vend at a high school or be around them, because there's still that cultural, age difference. So I think we still have some time, but as advocates and more people start to beat the drum to federal legalization, that might be something that we see soon. So Roll Up Life is a tech and logistics-based cannabis delivery company. And we really built this company because we wanted to increase patient access first. Like we've seen in New Jersey, when the recreational market opened, the lines were wrapped around the corner. And we know that a lot of companies here are doing their very best to serve medical patients, but delivery should be an option for not just medical patients, but for everyone. So we wanted to see the logistical flow of cannabis through delivery and transportation sort of made easy. So we were like, who's doing it really, really great right now in any other industry? And that was like Uber and DoorDash and Uber Eats. So that's what we wanted to implement and mimic and bring it to the cannabis side, because so many people are, using those services, again, for convenience, to not have to go to a dispensary that might be an hour and a half away, to might not, prepare to order something on the spot. So we created Roll Up Life so that people can have that on-demand cannabis delivery right on their phone, right at their fingertips, and again, increasing specifically medical patient access to cannabis, but again, for everybody. I want Black people to know everything about the cannabis industry. I want them to know that this industry has been here for a very long time, but unfortunately, a lot of people of color were sort of kept out. We were, instead of being taught about the regulated industry, people were being arrested and going to jail. And there's still people sitting in jail while this industry is happening, which is almost sort of like a backwards conundrum. Like, how do you fix that? How are companies making millions and millions of dollars, and then someone's doing 20 plus years for the same item? So when it comes to the industry, I just encourage all people of color to really start to educate yourselves on it, not just on the business end, but on the science end, on the regulations, on the government part, what it's happening to form this industry, because it's still a new industry, it's a nascent industry, and there's opportunity to be here in the beginning. But to be here in the beginning, you have to arm yourself with education. You have to fight to find out what's happening, because the barriers to entry are very deep. There's real estate, there's accounting, there's lawyer fees, there's so many things that come into that make you want to stop. But in order to get past those barriers, you really just have to continue to beat the pavement and educate yourself. And don't say no, because it's doable. This industry is completely doable. And please know, people of color have actually been doing this anyway. We're just not paying taxes, But it's just like, now we need to kind of encourage all of our legacy operators, people who are in those spaces, to say, we want to promote safety. Most importantly, when it comes to this industry. That's why the regulated market is here. So how do we transition that? So it definitely starts with educating yourself if you want to be a part of the cannabis industry. And now is the time. It is not too late. It's like, I feel like when the internet was first created, this is what most of those people must be feeling right now, is that same energy, like, this is about to be crazy. Yeah. Being a woman founder in cannabis is definitely a small group of people, and we want to see that expand. It means a lot to me to be in this space and be called a leader in this space because it did take a lot. There was many times I felt like this was just a very difficult undertaking to do, is to build a cannabis woman, as a 27-year-old from the city of East Orange. It's just so much that people tell you that, yeah, no, you're not gonna be able to do it. But it's needed so that more people, women specifically, come into this space and find their niche here. I always tell people, whatever you're doing now, you can definitely do it in the cannabis industry. And then for women, we need a lot more love when it comes to it, because cannabis also has a masculinity around it, right? But women also consume in many different ways, and women also consume for wellness. So there's a lane there and there's a space there, but I think it takes, not just myself, but other women who are leading the charge in the cannabis industry to continue to do so, to show other people, which is really my goal, that this is doable. This industry is doable, and you can make something of it, and you can build generational wealth, which is super important for people of color. And Black women definitely are the ones who I see can, be the leaders in this space, for sure. This is really why we got into delivery. We knew with federal legalization on the horizon, certain states might start to come together and develop some sort of interstate commerce for the movement and transportation of cannabis. Now, while this is still pretty much far out, there are talks. On the West Coast, you see Oregon and Washington and California even starting to figure out, well, what does interstate commerce look like? Because now the supply of cannabis is kind of mismanaged. So how do you sort of flow that into other states? So now there's balance when it comes to supply, the supply chain. So there's now oversupply and undersupply. I can see that happening in the tri-state area with New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and even a lot more of our eastern shoreboard states. But I think that also comes with federal legalization kind of being the first step. And then again, it's a new industry, so our legislators have to get creative. Our private sector people have to get creative and come to the table and say, okay, how can we now make this work? So I'd say still a little bit far away, but that's why transportation might be a little bit more special. So federal legalization is definitely circulating around Capitol Hill right now in many different facets. There's the MORE Act. There's many different representatives and Congress people who are putting in legislation that can possibly decriminalize and legalize cannabis. Again, we are in a very interesting political environment right now, and we're seeing a lot of changes in the House, both Republican and Democratic, and those things play a major factor into whether or not federal legalization will actually happen this year or even in the next 5 years. I think it's really analyzing President Biden's agenda for cannabis and seeing if it's something that he wants to put forward, if it's something that he wants to do. And there's a lot of talk about decriminalization in Washington, D.C. So while I am a proponent for federal legalization, I always say I would prefer federal decriminalization first. Let's decriminalize and deschedule cannabis, so at least now it can be used even further for data and research. And while we're doing that, we'll figure out a way that legalization makes sense for everybody. Because sometimes legalization doesn't always make sense on a federal level for small businesses. Because those large corporations can really come in and start to dig deep and uproot us from things we've been doing for a long time. So federal legalization is definitely going to be a process. I give federal legalization another couple years. We're still a little far out from seeing something that can actually get the support of both Democratic congressional people and Republicans on board for it. That's the harmony that needs to happen. Oh, definitely How High. Definitely How High. Red Man, Method Man. I remember I was young as hell when I watched that movie. And I remember them. They were just having so much fun. And then when I got older and I was high when I was watching How High, it was just a vibe. It just felt like a full circle moment.
Because I think that movie came out, we were all too young to
We was all too young to yeah. Right. And shout out to Redman and the National Cannabis Party, who's doing a lot of work right now on the East Coast, specifically in New Jersey, and actually building a political party that's going to be, an advocate for cannabis policy and regulations and science. So that How High is like a full circle moment for him too, I'm sure. I actually don't. I wish I knew, but I have a favorite scene. towards the end when they went to the party and they got everybody, they put the weed in everybody. Was it in the air or was it in some food or something? It was like a cannon or something. They had a cannon and then they smoked the whole party out, and that was like they major like the end of the movie and stuff like that. And then when they dug up the body of the old man, thinking he was gonna, thinking because they was getting a fire tree. I need some fire tree like that. Make me want to dig up a body because it was making them smart, to pass their classes. Yo, that's a classic for sure, for sure. So tonight, I'm actually smoking one of my favorite strains, actually a new discovered strain for me. It's a mimosa. It's a hybrid strain. I found it out in Cali when I was out there. Shout out to Josephine and Billy's dispensary, women-owned, women-led out there. They put me on. It's a 20% THC level, and it's really just a vibe. You're not up, you're not down. You're just in a good mood the whole time. So that's what I'm trying to be, all vibes tonight with my hybrid mimosa. And then, of course, my favorite just to go to, which you can always probably find in my stash bag, is a little gelato and a little do-si-do. So thank you. Nah, I appreciate it. No problem. I appreciate it. Anytime, anytime.